Inside the Birds is back. What's up, everybody? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, and time to recap another Eagles loss. It's 3 straight. Was not pretty at times. The Eagles lose to the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 41-30. Now, if you're counting at home, that is 71 total points. So when Geoff Mosher says high-scoring game, Adam Caplan, you listen to Geoff Mosher. High-scoring game, all right? You know I like those high-scoring games.
One. Yeah,
got that one right. Yeah. Look, there's a lot to take away from this game. We're going to go through it. I think I've got a lot of big picture thoughts and some obviously little picture thoughts that are just germane to the game itself. So we always like to start off the game review podcast with just your big picture thoughts. And it used to be after 4 games, you were 1 quarter away through the season, but now there's a 17th game here. So I'm still going to say a quarter of the way through the season, the Eagles are 1-3. What are your big picture takeaways?
The defense is collapsed. The dam is broke.
You noticed that, huh?
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. Okay, we can have one game aberration. Game 1 was excellent for the defense. Game 2 was good, not great for the defense. Game 3 is an absolute disaster. The trap door broke, and now everyone's down. Everyone's fallen in. We're now the Poseidon Adventure. Right. Everything is tipped over. You said, they played 4 games. The defense is an abomination. It's embarrassingly bad. You've given up over 40 points 2 straight games, which is hard to do in the National Football League. I know the rules favor passing, but my goodness, the Chiefs have been running the ball a lot more lately. Average per game runs. In fact, last week's game for the Chiefs in a loss, their running backs ran the ball 24 times, which is a lot for them. So knowing that they're playing the Eagles, you'd think they'd try to run the ball a little bit, and they sure did, and they sure were successful for 200 yards. Even Mike Burton, the fullback, got a 5-yard game. But look, this is I just don't know, Geoff, as we'll hit the defense in a few minutes in terms of what it looks like, what we saw. Well, we kind of alluded to this in the pregame show, which, by the way, you could listen. I got to tell you, Greg Cosell and Jason Avant took this thing to another level. It was phenomenal. I just sat back and listened to this guys talk football. It's really cool. Inside football show. It's exactly what we were looking for. And those guys were phenomenal. Jason just was, I could see it. Greg was like, yeah, this is, I think it's kind of like when Greg worked with Trey Thomas last year, he learned a lot. And I think Greg's actually learning. It's hard for a guy like Greg to learn something that says a lot. So really happy and proud to have those guys with us. That was phenomenal. But, overall, the defense is a disaster. And what we'd said on that pregame show is they just don't have the linebackers to fit what Gannon does. Whereas Jim Schwartz made it work because he ran a completely different scheme. Here, Gannon, because he's running strictly zone, least amount of man in the National Football League by far. Only 9.5 to 10% man, which is crazy. But that's what he does. So unless he adjusts here, these linebackers are going to get picked on. Unless he tightens up the zones and all that he can do, then they don't get physical, by the way. Something we had not talked about before. Someone tipped me off to this, that they do not get physical at all with pass targets. And that sometimes happens with zone defense because you're giving up so much room. So they got a lot of work to do.
They definitely have a lot of work to do. So I have 2 thoughts. And first of all, I agree with everything you said. It's clear as day. I mean, we're not rocket scientists telling everybody that the defense is not working so far. But by the same token, I would say I feel like I've seen this before, this whole scenario played out. And I've talked about it a little bit, but I think the similarities are really worth discussing. The 2013 team where Chip Kelly came in, he wasn't just taking over a team. He was implementing a culture. He was implementing a scheme change, both offensively and defensively, the way that Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon are doing right now. And the schedule that year did them no favors. They obviously opened up with that amazing win at Washington. They scored a lot of points. But then, of course, the 3 straight games, Kansas City, San Diego Chargers at the time. They were San Diego still. And then, of course, Denver Broncos, they go out there and lose 55-20. That was not they faced teams that year that were ahead of them, that were just more ready to compete than the Eagles were, because the Eagles were just trying to figure out. I mean, remember, that defense had Trent Cole, it had Brandon Graham, it had guys who had never played in a 3-4 before, right? I mean, Connor Barwin was brought in just like Anthony Harris was brought in to help with the defense. And who else was on that team? Like Kerry Williams was brought. Well, Patrick Chung was brought in because he had familiarity, like Eric Wilson. So there's some similarities here. But I see what the Eagles are doing on defense, and I don't think Jonathan Gannon's an idiot. I think he can see that he's not working. But if you're Jonathan Gannon or you're Nick Sirianni, you're here for a bigger purpose. You're here to implement a scheme that you're starting with now. You want to grow it by the end of the year. And then by next year, you obviously want to be able to get more of the personnel that fits your scheme in through the draft, through free agency. You have to collaborate. But you want to implement the building blocks of what you're going to do here for the next few years. And so I think what Jonathan Gannon is doing is saying we're going to have to take our growing pains now, our lumps today, for the promise of tomorrow. And so maybe it's easy for us to sit here and say, you know what, these linebackers got to go. These safeties got to go. They got to start reinvesting in those positions and thinking about them differently. Let's see as this season goes along. If they improve, then we'll know the coaching is working. If they don't improve, we'll know that they need a personnel overhaul, which I tend to think right now they're going to need a personnel overhaul. But unless you were a person who went into this year thinking, oh, you know what, this team's going to win division, this team's going to win 10, 11, 12 games, I think that we've got to – no, they weren't. You and I have said that from the beginning. They're not ready yet right now, as opposed to teams that are going to compete for a Super Bowl like Kansas City, like perhaps Dallas, and then, Tampa Bay in a few weeks. So that's my big picture takeaway. I don't know that Jonathan Gannon or even Nick will make too many schematic changes to what they're doing, no matter how ugly it looks, because they got to take their lumps. The only thing I'll say about 2013 is, and Adam, you remember that year, after they went through that rocky stretch, lost all those 3 games, they made the switch from Vic to Foles because Vic got hurt with the hamstring. They faced some really easy cupcake opponents. You remember they went to Green Bay that year, and Scott Tolzien started because Tolzien started, and then he got yanked after a quarter, and Seneca Wallace came in, or maybe it was
your memory. Your memory.
And then
they
went out to Oakland, right? Oakland. Nick Foles throws 7 touchdowns against one of the worst Oakland teams you'll ever see. They played.
Well, you know what happened?
What's that?
That game. Just add that game. I talked to the Raiders after it. They had played the week at home before they played the Eagles, and they beat the Steelers in an incredibly emotional game.
Right.
And they were so spent mentally, they just didn't have it. And
they also weren't very good that year, though. It's not
they weren't
a very
but
good team.
Right. But one of the coaches on the staff told me they knew it going in that they were tired. Mm-hmm. But then when you have Chip trying to run quickly, running tempo, because that was his all offense. By the way, Eagles ran some of that on Sunday.
Right.
It just you got what you got, but
yeah.
I would agree.
I was going to say they played some. So they got some real. They played the Bears. They beat them 54-11 that year. I mean, there were just some really bad teams on their schedule, and they caught fire. But then the truth came out when they had to play the playoff game against the Saints at home. They got schooled by a team that was supposed to never be able to win in cold weather outside. So this team, I don't think, gets the kind of break in the schedule that the 2013 team did. You got to go play a Carolina team that's pretty good. You got to go play out. You got to fly out to Vegas, play a Raiders team, looks pretty good. The Lions will probably be the first game where you might feel really good about their chances, but the Lions at least play hard, and it is on the road, so it's no give me. And then you've got the Chargers later. You got the Broncos in Denver. That's not easy. The Saints at home. So I don't see, until the bye week. And then after the bye week, everybody looked at that, said, oh, well, Washington, New York, Washington, Dallas, and everybody thought the division stunk, so those would be easy wins. I have no idea what the division is going to look like by then, so I can't say that those are going to be easy wins, and certainly nothing looks easy for the Eagles right now. Big picture is this is what you should have expected from the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a transition year. It is a transitional from one scheme to another, and they don't have all the right pieces right now. It's a learning year. That's how I see it.
The latter is the point. They don't have the pieces. They don't fit at linebacker. They're not bad players, but they're not fitting.
Right.
And you talked about schematically, he's going to run what he's going to run. Either you protect these guys or you get the results that you're getting. It's one or the other. It's not both. That's the bottom line. And this is why you're seeing this team the way that they are. No,
And
I'm just saying
I
this is what.
suspect that if Jonathan Gannon were to switch up his scheme and try to play more man defense and blitz a whole lot
Or
more,
nuances. I mean,
they would
something
get
to help
killed.
these guys.
Yeah, they get killed in
Right,
one-on-ones against these guys because
but
these
no, but
guys don't
not
cover.
but not just man. I'm not talking man versus zone. I'm talking
Mhm.
small moves. Okay, like for instance, I understand Kerrigan's got to play now with his hand down because Graham's done for the season. I get that.
Right.
But some of the things we saw in training camp were really fascinating. With Kerrigan, he did a little on Sunday. I saw him standing up, but they had him sometimes farther back as a true linebacker. Then they had him playing as over the defensive end. He did a lot. They did a lot of. Then obviously they had him just standing up as a DN.
Right.
They're not going to be able to do a lot of that stuff anymore because Brandon Graham's done, and Kerrigan's going to have to play strictly or mostly defensive end. But there's got to be some nuances, something that they could do to help these guys. Or we had said before the season started, they got to protect these linebackers because if they get to the second level, they're in trouble, and that's what's happening with the run. And then also, though they sort of stymied Kelsey to a degree, Hill crushed them, and that was something to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, man, Tyreek Hill has some superhuman moves and change of direction that you watch it on TV a lot, and it's amazing. But when you see it like this that much closer, because you can see, you see the entire field when you're at the game and see some of the ways he is able to just maneuver in space. That man, it's like, there are just some guys who are just rare and you can't duplicate it. And he certainly has those abilities. Amazing. He went to the Eagles. Kansas City in I think the 6th round. Obviously, he had gotten in trouble in school and everything.
5th round, fifth round.
Yeah, no. So, and by the way, good for Andy Reid. He becomes the first coach in NFL history to win 100 games with 2 different teams. Amazing that the 100th win for the Chiefs would come against the Eagles in Philadelphia. Can't write this. I mean, on the same day that Tom Brady goes back to the Patriots to Gillette for the first time. It's amazing how the NFL drama works itself out.
I was I believe it was 95. Don Shula got his 500th win. Was Doug Peterson the quarterback? Was that I thought it was. Could be wrong, but I was at that game. I think it was Peterson. Nevertheless, some momentous occasions have happened in Philly, but not for the opponent sometimes, not for the home team. But look, you kind of reap what you sow sometimes defensively. You have what you have. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Gannon could do all that much, but you got to see what you can do. And that's what, as much as we criticize Schwartz through our people we spoke with who graded Eagles tape, he definitely would. He was going to do what he was going to do, but he played certain coverages. He played certain guys certain ways to help them out. But overall, it's true. What could Gannon really do? He has what he has there. It's not like they are going to sign like Elijah Riley. Want to bring him off the practice squad? The Eagles obviously love him. They've protected him every week. Okay, but I don't know what that's going to solve. But I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him try something else, get more physical, do something to slow these offenses down. And it's hard to watch. Bad football is hard to watch on defense. It's like no resistance. It's like, man, are you doing anything to try to stop these offenses?
I agree. I think that and I feel for the fan in this regard, that there's a level of frustration where you're losing in kind of a simplistic way. Teams are just deciding that they're going to load up front and run the ball down your throat. I mean, it really is the ultimate sign of insult when the Kansas City Chiefs, who, Andy Reid, who doesn't want to run ever, just sits there and runs 25 to 28 times against you, right? I mean, this guy is just begging.
Last week, though, no, they're running it. They're actually running a little bit more.
Yes, I know, but can you? Andy Reid doesn't like to run. We know this, all right. I know that the last week they have, and maybe this year a little more. But my point is, if you give Andy Reid the opportunity to pass on you, he's Andy Reid. He's going to
he'll take advantage. On you. I got you.
Exactly. So that's like why I call it the ultimate insult. Even Andy Reid wants to run on you, but nonetheless, we'll break down everything that's been going on offensively and defensively. Eagles have lost 3 straight, and it may not get any easier. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Look, the Eagles are not winning, but Adam and we're always winning because we use Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that is actually fun. It's the longest running penny auction website and app around. Does that sound too good to be true? I think that probably does. I mean, we've seen a car go for $900 and a brand new TV for less than $2. So many great appliances, tools, electronics, anything you can think of at amazing rates just by winning on Deal Dash. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for the things you want and get on Deal Dash. Go to dealdash.com or download the Deal Dash app. And by the way, when you register, enter that promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. All right, let's we'll start off as we normally do. We'll this time we'll start off with the Eagles offense versus the Chiefs defense, because I think that there's some decent positives here to glean out of it. First of all, I think, Adam, after the first drive in the fourth quarter, this game was still a one possession game, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Eagles cut it to 5 on their first possession in the fourth quarter. So, as much as lopsided as it seemed at times, the Eagles did a good job of moving the ball and trying to, having a ball control offense that didn't give the Chiefs the ball 8 times. In fact, the Chiefs only had the ball 3 times in the first half. They just happened to score touchdowns on all 3 drives.
It was, did this game set it tied? I think it tied a record with no punts, right? Is that?
It might have, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is.
I forgot about that. I should have mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable because I remember watching is anyone going to play defense in this game? It was just. We were talking on the pregame show that Mahomes has clearly not been the elite level. He's been good to very good, but not elite. But you could make the case Eagles made him elite. It was something to behold, man. And they did a good job on television showing him how he makes like the baseball throw or the sidearm throw, which you just can't mimic that. You just can't. You got to put your hands up, I guess. But
yeah,
those kind of throws, man, and what he did with Tyreek Hill, the timing, and I remember hearing Tyreek Hill saying that he learned over time that you have to come back to the ball with Mahomes because he's going to make the so-called section reaction throw like Greg Cosell talks about, because the pocket breaks down, or he just decides to leave the pocket. He didn't like what he sees initially with his first read, and he runs around, and you come back to the ball, and Hill is so explosive, and that's what you saw.
Right. So getting back to the Eagles offense, obviously they did a good job of playing ball control and not giving Patrick Mahomes the ball too many times, especially in the first half. But so it was a much better offense than we had seen against Dallas, and a better offense than we had seen the prior week before that against San Francisco. I think that you saw a return to the overly schemed type offense and staying ahead of the sticks. You saw more runs, although I still think they could have ran the ball miles a little bit more, but nonetheless, they were trying to score and keep pace with the Patriots. But we saw a lot of quick time routes, a lot of disbursement to the tight end, to running backs, Kenny Gainwell. A lot of everything was designed to get Jalen Hurts in rhythm, in a comfort, and to stay ahead of the sticks. I think that was a big thing that they were able to do against the Chiefs that you didn't see the prior 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say that I agree totally. And then the thing that they did here is they went back to the college football offense. Whereas, I was talking about Tyreek Hill and Mahomes. Well, they're running a lot of college concepts. This was a totally college offense. This was the pre-snap motion.
Oh, God.
Like crazy, by the way, like crazy. And I'm laughing here. I get home from our pregame show, and I listened to Merrill Reese and Ike Reese on my way home because I can't see it. And they kind of are saying, because they're giving me the visual as I'm driving about the motioning. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I play back the game, the first quarter, basically. I got home at the end of the first quarter. And I'm watching this. I'm like, this is like amazing eye candy. I know you love that word. I was like, wow, this is like really cool what they're doing. This looks just like a college offense. And I see some of the stuff that Kansas City does, which some of it's extreme. Andy does some cool stuff. They did so much pre-snap motion first quarter. Kansas City clearly did not think they're either not going to do it or they've not seen it on tape to this degree. And that got them. And I just think that Sirianni clearly either tried to sandbag everybody or had it in mind doing it because Kansas City was down Frank Clark and the 2 corners, and they're not a very good. They're a bad defense anyway right now. They're just not playing well. Spags usually gets things going, but they're off to a bad start. And he got them, and this really helped Hurts. It was the quick game. They want sugar huddle or no huddle or tempo, that got him going. And Hurts had it going on. He wasn't perfect. He was good to very good. I don't know if I agree with the head coach on the best game, one of the best games he's ever seen. It was not. But it was good. Hurts had it going on. It was cool to see the way that they managed him, and I got to give Sirianni credit. I've had my criticisms. I went all in last week on him. I went pretty hard on him, but I go by what I see and what we're told, and I got to give him credit. He called a very good game. They still should have scored more points, by the way. They left some points on the board, so to speak, but did a good job.
Oh, I mean, they left a ton of points on the board. They had 3 touchdowns taken away again. I mean, they had a touchdown taken away by an illegal man on Andre Dillard. Which, by the way, I'm not 100% sure these are they get called on Andre Dillard, but they're not always Andre Dillard's fault because a lot of these are on RPOs, and if the ball isn't thrown first, because the he's supposed to block like it's a running play, so he's supposed to kind of be down the field. The ball's got to be out really quickly in those situations. But then obviously Devontae Smith pulled the same thing that Jalen Reagor did and stepped out of bounds on a touchdown. And then there was the one to Zach Ertz, was it in the right corner of the end zone, or was that Goddard that got negated by the J-Jaw offensive pass interference, which I think was a bad call.
Goddard. That Goddard touchdown catch was amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, this brings up one of my points that I have in my notes here. They so badly need a physical wide receiver. A guy's got size. I know they have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He's only blocking. And yes, that was clearly a pick. And people didn't like it. Sirianni didn't like it, but he extended his arms. That was a pick. It was the right call. But
I guess. All right. I didn't think it was, but
I'm positive of it. I just feel from calling Dean Blandino so many times over the years when I was at ESPN, I asked him so many questions to learn. He was very good about it. Great guy. And he explained to me, because I would be at home like, what? It didn't matter what team I was watching. I'm like, that's BS. It's not a pick. And then he explained to me the advantage you have by extending your arms forward or your elbows forward.
Right.
Clearly, it's kind of like with baseball. Is it a check swing or not? If you do it, it's one thing to like this, but if you extend a little bit, they're going to call it. So anyway, that Goddard had a really good game. He's got to get the ball more. He caught all 5 targets. He got the touchdown wiped out. Ertz had a very good game. Really good to see the tight ends have 13 targets and 11 catches. I really believe this. They could absolutely. Zach looks good, by the way. They could absolutely dominate every single game if the head coach would call the numbers more. They physically can dominate because they need someone who's strong and physical. Goddard's a beast. We know this. Zach looks good. He's all the way back physically. I mean, is he the same guy as 4 years ago? Maybe not, but he's back as much as you can get at 30 years old. Devontae Smith is explosive, but he's just not mature enough physically, strong enough. We were talking about this in the pregame. Jason Avant and Cosell took over the receiver discussion. Like they talked about what they'd seen from Devontae Smith and Reagor, who we'll get to in a second. But there's no question in my mind. In fact, they need to line up Goddard at X as a boundary X, like we've seen other teams do, Darren Waller and other teams. So they've done that with Ertz in the past. Well, Goddard's got to be that guy because they need someone physically to go get the football.
They do. I don't know if I agree that they should dominate in that. I mean, the guy, he threw the ball 50 times, and everybody seemed to catch the ball and do. Ertz had 6 for 60.
I'm saying in every game, they should just get the ball every game.
To Goddard, like you have to get the ball to him about 8 to 10. I feel like you're right. You have to put the ball in the hands of your best players. But
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, they had over 400 yards of offense. Almost close to 500, right? I mean, 387 passing yards and about 80 on the ground. So I see what you're saying. I do think that against better defenses, they've got to get the ball to Goddard's hands more. Of course, some of them were taken away there by penalties. But I'm a little more perplexed by why Kenneth Gainwell, who has done well, why is he getting, infinitely where he got 11 touches compared to Miles Sanders, who got 10 touches, which, are these guys 50-50? Is this committee?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so confused with Sanders' usage. I don't know. I just know what we had reported right after the draft that this staff wanted Gainwell like badly.
Yes.
This is one where they pushed for him. Okay, they got him, but no offense to Gainwell, he's a fun player. We were pushing for him too, but Sanders is a better football player. I mean, I understand 7 carries for 13 yards, not good enough. Okay. But So it's like almost like you're penalizing. Okay, well, you know what? You didn't do well. We're just going to go somewhere else.
Right.
I don't know. Like you said, you make a very fair point. I mean, it's hard to criticize. It's kind of hard to criticize Sirianni in that Hurts was 32 for 48 for 387. I know he had to throw the ball a lot because they were behind.
Mm-hmm.
They did spread it around to 8 pass targets. That's good. That's great production. That's a good usage of pass targets. So I guess I can't complain too much. And I saw our message board on Facebook, so I'll address it. Yeah, I agree with y'all who are super. The vitriol is there. I mean, oh my gosh, people are pissed. I get it.
About what? What?
The fans of our people on our Facebook board are just so mad at the defense, and I get it. I feel your pain. It's embarrassing, but you got to feel encouraged though. And you could say all you want about how bad the Chiefs' defense is. They get paid too. Hurts did a very good job, and so did Sirianni's play caller.
So I agree. A couple of things that stick out to me though, from not always a negative, but you just wonder. Well, first of all, there is one negative. He should have hit Ertz for a touchdown.
Yes,
on
third and 8 back.
When you talk about the Eagles' red zone issues, and of which they had many, that's one of them. Late should have had Ertz for a touchdown. Late and a little bit far on that throw.
And Ward, what do you think of Ward on that? The other one, not the for touchdown, but the other throw. He only got 2. People said it wasn't. They think he should have been more accurate. I have to see the replay now. The one to Ertz in the first quarter clearly was a touchdown if he throws it accurate. What happened was, though he mostly stood in there and planted his foot, I thought that's why Hurts had a very good game because mechanics. We had talked about the mechanics. We were told that they were not as good as they were in week 1 and weeks 2 and 3. He had fallen off with his mechanics. This game, from what I could see from TV, looked better. But we'll get a more detailed report from our people this week. But the pass to Ertz where he overthrew him, if you watch it on the TV copy, you could clearly see he didn't plant his feet and square his body well enough. Now, I know there was someone coming at him. Okay, but he can do better. I think I'm glad you brought that up because I'd forgotten about that.
And and the other thing kind of goes hand in hand with that is that when he gets pressured, specifically up the middle, Hurts has a tendency to backpedal, which is good. You're buying that time. Your one-on-one matchups out there, you're going to win. But then when you throw backpedaling like that, you lose torque. And he had about 4, 5, maybe even 6 throws that were not complete because he was backpedaling so much and lost torque. And there were a couple that should have been intercepted. I forget who the guy is that nearly picked him off on the left seam, but the replay showed that the ball hit the ground. And then, of course, there was another pass that I thought had an opportunity to be picked off there. So, he only completed 32 of 48. So I'm not going to complain too much. But in general, I thought that against the better defenses, you're going to struggle if you're trying to throw backpedaling. That's either where you got to navigate the pocket by moving a little to your left, a little to your right, or if the pressure's coming from around you, you got to step up and climb the pocket to buy yourself the extra time. So that's something we'll continue to work on. And really my big picture curiosity is, so the Eagles have had 2 really good offensive performances against some bad teams and 2 bad offensive performances against 2 good teams. So is this kind of what we're going to be seeing for the rest of the year? Carolina's got a pretty good defense. They lost J.C. Horn, so they gave up a bunch of points to the Cowboys. Maybe they're not as good anymore, but they definitely have a good pass rush.
They blitz.
And
they
front
blitz
6
like crazy. They really blitz.
I feel like the teams that blitz Jalen Hurts, and you saw Kansas City come after him plenty, give him the opportunities to get those one-on-ones and quick delivery. It's to me, it's the teams that kind of challenge him, drop 7 and try to get the pressure with the front 4 like Dallas mostly did. And I believe that was the Niners blitzed a little bit, but they really just showed a lot of blitzes and then would drop back. They disguised a lot, right? Kind of what we thought Jonathan Gannon was going to be doing all year long. So those are the teams I think that make it a little bit tougher on them. So we'll see what Carolina's game plan is. But you would like to see, as this thing goes along, this offense kind of, even in a loss against a really good defense, still be able to move the ball, stay ahead of the sticks, and show that it's not just going to be good when you're facing a really bad defense.
Fair enough. Look, I can't argue with you. You said it very well. I'm very curious. Let's get to the offensive line because of the Lane Johnson situation. I was just surprised that they held. I remember I was getting my car from a pregame show, and after because folks, if you saw it, we always jump in with the inactives, and I'm thinking it's going to be. In fact, I was going to hold off a couple minutes because I'm sure it was going to be nothing. And my hair was on fire when I see Lane Johnson. I'm like, what?
I know. I was in the middle of a read. I'm like, how dare he interrupt my read?
I'm sorry. No, I said, I'm sorry, bro, but I had to do it because I was in shock. And Cosell was like, he looked at me. He's like, almost like, are you sure about this? Like he couldn't understand it. No one could.
Right.
And so what happened was they went with Driscoll at right tackle, Herbig at right guard, Dickerson at left guard, and Dillard, who seemed to play well, but we'll get a more detailed report in terms of everything. But I got to give these guys credit. Jeff Stoutland, I mean, the guys, I don't know when they found out about Lane Johnson's situation, his personal matter, the Eagles are calling it. I have no idea when they found out. It would sound like a couple hours before the game, but I don't know what else to say about Jeff Stoutland. He got these guys ready. They did a great job considering everything. Got to give it up, though.
The one benefit of last year, and there weren't that many, was that a lot of these backup offensive linemen got a lot of time and a chance to improve, and they're not deer in the headlights when they get on the field. So guys like Nate Herbig and Jack Driscoll and Andre Dillard's a first-round pick, right? So he may not have lived up to it, but he's got the size and the athleticism to at least be a formidable player in the league. And, of course, those three guys go in there and, like you said, they had to hold their own, and I thought they did. I thought they did a good job under the circumstances. Let's just finish it up with wide receiver. We mentioned Devontae Smith having his first 100-yard game, generally caught everything that was thrown to him, did a nice job, showed he can get open again.
Oh, that catch. That sideline catch was unbelievable.
Really nice catch.
And that was an incredible performance. He's so gifted. And Cosell reminded us in our pregame that, don't forget, Smith can run deep. He could run. He could. They haven't asked him to go deep much. The side deep, the 37-yarder, whatever that was. I think 37 yards. That was a sideline deeper pass, but you could run shot plays with him. They just haven't done it yet, and that's one thing we'll probably see at some point.
Yeah. Now, there was a play in the first quarter that got me all excited. I think it was the first quarter where they handed the ball off to Jalen Reagor, who had been lined up in the backfield. In fact, in the pregame show, I actually said I would like to see them give the ball to Jalen Reagor as a running back out of the shotgun there, and they did that, and he got 12. Yes, like the Niners used Debo, right? He got 12 yards, and then I joked with a friend of mine in the press box. I said that was really good play. I bet you they never run it again. Sure enough, they never ran it again. Now look, you don't want to take a play. It's not a gat. See, to me, that's not a.
Did you look at their playbook?
It's not a gimmick play. I mean, you lined him up as a running back, and he took the like McCole Hardman did it twice. They gave it.
We saw this at training camp, by the way. Yeah, we saw this at training camp. They had the pony package. Also, what end arounds and fly motion and all the other stuff. We saw a lot of stuff. I was really happy from a conceptual standpoint to see what Sirianni did. I don't know if anyone got in his ear, but man, they did a good job. They're new to this, and I know we've been very critical, and I think it's been warranted. I don't think I don't think we've gone overboard. We go by what we know and what we see, and what people are really smarter than us think about what's going on with this offensive defense. And I thought Sirianni called an excellent game. They did leave some points on the field, no question about it. You're very fair in bringing up Reagor needs to be more involved. Now, what I would also tell you that coaches will tell you when you talk to them over the years about how players need to make themselves a pass target, get open more. I need to find out if Rager's getting open enough, or they're just not calling his number, which there were 44 pass targets in this game. So, and Reagor only got one of them. So that's a little bit concerning.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that shouldn't surprise people, and I'm not saying this is happening. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. But you get a new regime in, they get their own players in, you start looking at things, and you're like, hey, the leader in targets is Devontae Smith. That was this regime's draft pick. And then, who had the second most touches? Oh, Kenny Gainwell. He had 11 overall touches. That was this regime's pick. So
when you say 11, I have 9 here. No, what happened is he got targeted 8 times and got 6 catches. So he actually.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't say.
But that's a lot, though. 11. Look, 11.
Right.
11 purposeful plays to him.
Right.
That you're right, though. In theory, that's more than Sanders got of 10. I don't have an answer. I don't know. We need to get to the bottom of it. I wish I knew Sirianni, because I'm like, I just don't understand. Sanders is so gifted. I know we're complaining on a day, Monday morning here, when Sirianni had a great game calling plays. The coaches had this. I'll be honest with you. I was not sure. I know that the Chiefs defense isn't very good. That doesn't mean that they're going to get it done. I had my doubts going into the game. I really did. You picked a much higher scoring game. You were right. But I was not sure if I could trust this coaching staff, particularly the head coach, who I thought did a bleep job against Dallas. I thought it was awful, the job that he did calling plays. But either he was embarrassed by it, or someone got in his ear, or he relied on the coaches, or he just did his homework. Whatever the case may be, I got to give it up to him. I can't ask for much more. And we'll see if he could duplicate it this Sunday at Carolina.
We will. All right, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB to receive $150 in free bets instantly when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's right, a dollar bet on any football game, and you get $150 in free bets instantly when you use that promo code ITB on the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. And, of course, when you do use your sportsbook, you got to go with our friends from BetQL. Now, we've been telling you about BetQL for a while. They have got everything you need for your gambling fix. I mean, we've talked about their leaderboards. We've talked about their data. We've talked about all their stats that they've got. Over, what was it? I think 530,000 bets that they run through for their best bet model.
Wow.
So you got to check out BetQL. They are obviously the leader in supplying you with all the data and the information, the analytics you need. And listen, if you don't like their best bets model, they also give you all the information you need and put it into a context so that you can understand it and make your own best guess using BetQL. So you can go to the App Store or the Google Play Store to download the BetQL app, or you can simply go to betql.co/ITB. And when you do that, use the promo code ITB, and you get 25% off as a discount at checkout there. So promo code ITB for a 25% off discount at BetQL. It's the best way to get an advantage over your sportsbook this season. All right, let's talk about the Eagles' defense. I mean, we touched on it a little bit, but we can go break it down individually. Another sack for Javon Hargrave, by the way. That's 5 for this guy. We talked about it in the pregame show. They're going to have to make a decision at the end of this season, because he's going to be 2 years into a 3-year deal, and you don't want him to play out year 3, then hit the market, get the price tag. I mean, you're probably going to want to give him an extension after this year.
Oh, yeah.
And that might mean the end of Fletcher Cox.
Yeah. I mean, what we were talking on the pregame show about, if this team at the trade deadline's like 2-8, maybe you trade Fletcher Cox. There'd be the problem is the dead money hit. There's the salaries are great because of the way they restructure these deals here. His base salaries are so low; they're less than $2 million. Actually, I think he's just signed through 22. We were talking about this in the pregame that we'll see where they're at. Obviously, in late October, early November, because then you have to be honest with yourself. It's not looking really good for them to have a winning record this season. Though offensively, there's certainly a lot of upside. Yeah. So what happens is, in the latest restructure, they've got voidable for 23, 24, and 25. That's where the enormous proration comes in. You know, all of these, they restructured him 18, 20, 21. So he's only signed through 22, and then the voidables come in. But next year's base salary is only $1 million.
So how much dead money are we talking about? If they
the rest. The most I could see is ridiculous. You can't. I don't know how. I know they have that very unique restructure with. Was it Malik Jackson? They did two. Did they do?
Yeah, they did a couple with him, right?
Really odd restructure where they got them to agree to restructure, then they cut them. They cut. I think. I again, this is so many months ago. I don't remember. I haven't looked at it in several months, but. There must be some mechanism where, because the proration for next year's just under 13 million, 13 through 25 is 28.1 million. So you can't take over 40 million in dead money. You can't. So I don't know what the new rules are in the CBA. I don't know. It's like 41 million.
Yeah, I know if you release him post June 1st, then you can break that up over a 2-year
Right, over
span,
2
which is
seasons.
still
Right.
a crap load of money. But
Right. So it would be hard. But what I've learned is after they did it with Carson Wentz, I guess anything's possible. But you can't get heavily involved in free agency. There's a price to pay. The Falcons are learning this when they restructured Matt Ryan's contract just to get under the cap. He has to be on the team next year. They cannot move him. It's so massive. They certainly can move on from him after 22, but whatever. We'll see what happens. You never know. Maybe there's cap magic, but Hargrave looks like an absolute stud. And I remember when you put that on our show last spring, 2020 spring, about how keep an eye on this guy. They really like him. We didn't see the best of him last year because of pectoral strain, and he was better in the second half. But this guy, his energy, he doesn't stop. He just keeps going and going and going. And my hat's off to him, man. The guy's a stud. I know he's part of the run defense that's not doing well. I get it. He's got to be better in that area. But as a pass rusher who impacts the pocket, he's really good at it. But then again, you're going to say to me, yeah, but man, Mahomes went off. He did. I can't defend it.
No, look, this is definitely the only area where I think when we're having this discussion in 8, 9, 10 weeks from now, that maybe the defense has improved, because I think these defensive linemen are all used to, and again, this happened in 2013 when they went to Chip Kelly and they had to 2-gap after 1-gapping for so long. They were playing an entirely different defensive line scheme. It is not easy when you, for the last 5 years plus, have been flying at the quarterback to now not fly at the quarterback. Even Javon Hargrave talked about the difference in playing Pittsburgh style of line versus Jim Schwartz's style of line. So now you've got everybody having to do it. And it's not like they brought in any defensive linemen who were familiar with that style, to be honest with you. So, I mean, Ryan Kerrigan is actually playing a style of defense he's never been asked to play, which is a hand in the dirt kind of 5 technique, against, trying to stop the run when he's a pass rusher. So it's just not the right fit. It doesn't look right. And the results are showing, but maybe you've got enough talent and wisdom and experience among Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave and Ryan Kerrigan and Barnett and Sweat that 5 or 6 weeks from now, they start to figure out some things and they're able to hold their gaps and occupy those linemen a little better. And then maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks from now, those linebackers, Adam, are getting a little bit of a more of a step toward the gap and swarming it. By the way, the one thing we should point out in this game, because the Chiefs played so much 11 personnel as they normally do, I don't think we saw that third linebacker at all, that Jannard Avery, Patrick Johnson guy on the line. That was a traditional 4-2-5 defense that we've seen from Gannon for the first time, which obviously didn't help change the results. But I just think that's the only hope a fan might have that this thing is going to look a little better a month from now, is that the acclimation into this scheme will start to make sense for these guys. That's, to me, what Jonathan Gannon's got to be thinking of, because I don't know how, as a coordinator, you just sit there and get your ass chewed up like on the ground 3 straight weeks, 4 straight weeks, preseason. My God, the preseason was the biggest actual harbinger for what might come, because we always say the preseason doesn't matter. But I do remember you and I going, well, wait a minute here. There were games, like 3 of these games, 2 of them where the opponent actually ran more rushing plays than the Eagles ran total plays. That doesn't seem right. And you never see that. So it's clear that part of the preseason was real. This team has real issues trying to stop the run.
All right, so I definitely agree with you. Let me say this, though. It's probably going to get worse, believe it or not. It's not going to get better. I don't think it's going to get better overnight. But by weeks 8, 9, and 10, it should be better. It should be better. Gannon's a pretty smart guy. He's got a good coaching staff behind him on defense. But they're learning a completely new defense. Kerrigan was not brought in to do what he's doing now, but he didn't start, by the way. It was Sweat and Barnett. We should make that point. But based on what I saw Sunday, he looked like he was playing with his hand down quite a bit. That Brandon Graham loss had so much impact. I just didn't know it would be this big. Like we said when it happened, okay, this is going to be a problem. I should have times that by 10. It's really. He's so good against the run. People forget he's so good how he pursues and blows plays up, and as the force player to push the run inside, he's so good at it. it's these guys, and Barnett, of course, had another one and another personal foul. This one, he should have still.
That one, I know that's like a reputation thing where people are mad at him, but he was. Yeah. It looked to me like he was blocked into the legs of Mahomes after the ball was thrown. I don't.
Tough one. That was a tough one.
That one. Yeah. That was not to me a reckless. The foul the way the last 2 weeks have gone. I think that's just kind of it happens type of foul.
Let me ask you this on the penalties, because again, there were a decent amount of them. There were 9 accepted penalties.
Yeah.
There were at least 4 or 5 which were not good. Like they clearly, like the sweat offsides. It's like, come on, man, you got it. You can't go offside. By the way, they were coming back. This might have been the first time that it looked like, oh man, wow, if they just hold here in the 3rd and 8, we're gonna have a punt. Nope. Got the offside. It just killed their momentum. That to me, it was a momentum changer.
Absolutely.
I mean,
obviously the J Jaw offensive pass interference, the pick.
That one I thought was legit. Again, it did though. Correct. Now, what's a positive? They had less than 10 penalties accepted. There you go. That's a win.
is that now? That's the standard
9.
now. It's a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I'm just joking, but
9 to 49. No,
it's the gold standard.
Really no, but seriously, Josh Sweat. That I know that's bad. That's the one where he got a sack too, right? He negated his own sack. Yes.
And it was a great rush, man. I was like, we're waiting back because he's been quiet lately.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's as you said, Hargrave had the sack. He was very active in the game. Then obviously we need to talk about Roddy McLeod. Well, he did start. We'd said in the pregame show we had heard he was taking reps with ones, but we didn't know what that meant. Right. Does that mean he's going to play all the snaps or split it with Epps? We just didn't have enough information. But it's good that he's back, and he obviously is new to this defense. First time he's played since last season, so it's been over 9 months. Mm-hmm. And we'll get a gander at the tape this week. But overall, Jonathan Gannon's got a lot of work to do. I kind of feel for him and his staff. I'm sure they're going to be better. You make a very fair point. It's so early. This is the first quarter of a new defense, and they're clearly right now not getting it. Okay, there are a lot of leaks. On run defense has been terrible. Oh, and then the thing is, it's like, okay, you do a good job against Kelsey. They had a plan for him. Well, how many catches did Tyreek Hill have in the deep middle or in the middle of the? It's just ridiculous. I mean, and then the insult to injury touchdown. I mean, come on, was that really needed? I mean, did you?
You say, "Come on, was that really needed?" My thought is, could you at least be within 5 yards of him?
Exactly. And the guy told me before the game, he said, "Man, he goes, Philly does not get physical with guys on defense at all in terms of rerouting anyone." He goes, they just don't. He goes, they make it too easy for the guys to get off the line, and
they do.
I don't know.
That's
something we've not talked about before, but
it's evident when you get run on like that. You're not a tough, physical, nasty defense, and I do wonder about here. I got 2 hot takes, right? That I'm gonna give you in a second. 2 hot takes. Okay. First, I'm gonna say this is what they call a great tease. Check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams. They are for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. Make sure you go check them out. You can find them on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation, or just go to the website, PHLSportsNation.com. And we'll pause real quick for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you stop into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. So 2 hot takes here. One, we were talking about the secondary, right? So I'll start with that first. Slay is a veteran who's been on. By the way, I've never seen a person so mad when you call him by his first name. In the press conference 3 straight weeks, I think it's Jeff McClain has started off by saying, "Hey, Darius," and then as he's about to get into his questions, he gets cut off and he goes, "Slay." Call me Slay. So he just wants to be called Slay, I find that fascinating. But here's a guy who's been in the league for a couple of years, man, and maybe his best days are behind him, but he was on some bad Detroit teams. He hated Matt Patricia. So now he has to go through yet another scheme change, and he was pretty vocal. I mean, after the press conference, he kept saying, he used the SHIT word quite a bit. Like, this has got to get figured out. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. Losing stinks. And, veterans are the first people that really get annoyed when losing streaks happen. And, they always say veterans are the first guys to kind of check out if they don't start losing belief in the team. So that's just something to watch because he's an upbeat guy. I'm not saying he's going to check out, but hopefully he's kind of spreading that, like like Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are doing their job of being positive and encouraging, and optimistic, but somebody's got to be the a-hole too and be like, this stuff we will not tolerate. So I think that's good for Slay. I hope that he stays emotionally invested. My second thought process, Adam, that might be a hot take is why, Ryan Kerrigan is not playing the role he's supposed to be playing. I mean, do you wind up if the Eagles are 1-6 or 3-8 or 9 come Thanksgiving, like do you cut him just to say, like, we're going to play Teron Jackson, we're going to play the young guys? We're trying to build a culture here. We're not even able to use you. Well, if you could, I mean,
very tradable contract. He's only making, it'll be prorated. He's only making $1.075 million.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, it's a very tradable contract. The Eagles had to pay a signing bonus. The other team wouldn't be responsible for it. But here's the other problem, though.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the tape and you're like, I don't know what this guy's doing anymore. I don't know if he can do it. You have to.
Wouldn't you be a personnel guy, look at the tape and say, why is Ryan Kerrigan playing with his hand in the
right?
Tape?
And should get a 34 standing up. Great point, man. He that to me is when I got real excited when I was at training camp. For the 5 or 6 days, I was like, oh, this could be interesting because we didn't know that they were going to run some elements of 34, and they sure were earlier in the season. Not so much right now. And I don't have an answer for that. But we'll probably talk to when we do the pregame show for the Carolina game, or this week. We'll try to find out. But Kerrigan has just been a big zero so far. It's disappointing. I know he's trying hard. I get it, but
I don't think it's his fault. I really don't.
And here's someone asked me this question. I don't know the answer to this. It's come back from the thumb surgery. A deterrent from him doing well. It's a very honest question and fair question.
Very fair.
Only he can answer it. Something. It's just not he. He just looks like a guy out there. That's it. Just like he's trying hard, but he's just going up the field and not getting anywhere.
All right, our homework assignment on the pod is to kind of get into this D-line a little bit more because I asked you about this last week.
Okay.
I mean, it's sort of becoming apparent to me that you're not seeing a whole lot of plays being made by Fletcher Cox. I know he had the quote-unquote fumble recovery interception against Dallas, but that was Javon Hargrave who caused the pressure and the sack, right? The strip.
Well, he was not feeling well, as he said.
But he was not feeling well. No, I remember that. He missed a lot of practice.
Lost a lot of weight.
He said he lost weight. No problem. But I got no issue with that one game. I'm looking at this now through 4 games. Has Fletcher Cox done anything? I don't think he has any sacks, or maybe he has one. I don't know. It doesn't feel like he's doing a whole lot. And maybe that's partly playing next to Hargrave, who's like lighting the world on fire. But I want personnel people to.
Week one. I was told week one by 2 people. He looked pretty good. I know he didn't get on the score sheet, but he actually looked pretty good with pressures.
Okay.
That was against Atlanta, where they pretty much destroyed Atlanta's offense, where they got to Matt Ryan. And the game plan was so good. And the disguise, that's the other thing. I need to check on this, but it sure as hell didn't look like they were disguising much. And I know they didn't do anything against Dallas. That was just Gannon had called a bad game there. This game looked bad, but we know who they were going up against, so it's hard to evaluate that. But you do. I don't know that it'll get much worse than it was on Sunday against Kansas City. That was even worse than Dallas, if you can imagine, because they just let Tyreek Hill run free. I know he's arguably the NFL's best receiver. I get it. He's special. He's unbelievable, but you didn't do anything to try to slow him down. That's the problem. I mean, could you try to hit the guy a little bit? You got 5 yards to strike him. Okay, you're allowed to legally hit him within 5 yards. Could you do something? No, they obviously didn't do it.
No, they did not. They did not do a good job against Tyreek Hill. I think that's very, very obvious.
Could you try? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what.
We'll find out. We'll have a little bit more of a detailed report on whether or not they pressed him, whether or not they tried, what they did with him on Wednesday morning when we have our tape review podcast come out, because that is a really good question. The only disguise I've seen from Jonathan Gannon so far is he's disguising his run defense because we don't know where it is. So it's literally in disguise.
Or he's wearing dark glasses when it comes out, like Bobby Valentine did.
Oh yeah, the Groucho Marx.
Right, because he doesn't want anyone to know it's him. Because fans are. It's funny, and I get it. Fans, they're all over Gannon now. He's the new whipping boy. I get it. I understand it's been awful. It's look, when your defense gives up more than 40 points a game in 2 straight games, okay, the guy who's calling the defense is going to get it. Okay.
Yeah. Be patient, people, please.
Fair point.
Listen, Adam and I don't root, and I can't tell you that they're going to win more than 5 or 6 games. I said 7.
I still think 7 or 8.
I still think that as well.
I'm out of my mind, but
and maybe for some people, I know that's going to be underachieving because they had delusions of grandeur. We did not. We thought that this is fair. It was fair to the Eagles and what they did this offseason, which was make very modest upgrades. That they were going to be a transitional team. So I think that you have to judge them as such.
Just to add to that, what you just said, the reason why I said, and I will continue to say 7 or 8 games, it's partially what you'd said maybe 10 minutes ago. Sure, it looks bad now, but by midseason, you got to think that the players are going to get it, right? I've talked about the year, just as an example. I know it's a little bit extreme, but I'm just giving you a real life example of how it's happened before. Spags' first year with the Giants was the Super Bowl year. I think was that this first year with them? I would assume it was.
Yeah, they gave up 88 points in their first 3 games.
They were so bad defensively, almost not competitive.
Right.
The players were turning on Spags. It was bad. Now, obviously, Spags is a great guy. If anyone has had a chance to get to know him, he's a wonderful guy. And once the players got it, boy, did they get it. Now, I know it's strange, and I know they were way more talented. My friend Antonio Pierce, who I work with at ESPN, who has told the stories of playing for Caplan and all the guys that were there then. I get that. But now when you look at what they have here, I know they're not as talented, but you can get better. I'm not saying they're going to get that much better like the Giants 07 Super Bowl run, but if they could just be average with the offensive firepower, you can say what you want about Kansas City's defense.
Mm-hmm.
Sirianni called a good game. He used the pass target group well. The pre-snap motion absolutely impacted their opponent, okay? So you and I disagree with what Sirianni said, and as I love how you set up Yvonne on the pregame show with that question, are you buying what Sirianni said? He goes, that's BS. And I was like, yes, you're right. I agree with you. And guess what? We were right. Yes. It was BS because it works.
Yes, he did do the motion. He was sandbagging the media. So good for him. I tip his A. Good for you.
I can't wait to
what you're supposed to do as head coach.
Right. I can't wait to hear later today what if they ask him. Did the Sunday press conference? I know they talked about it, but did they ask him like, hey, you said that pre-snap motion's not important, all this blah 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 blah. Well,
no, he wasn't. The post game was not. That kind of X's and O's stuff.
Sure, I got you. But I'll say this though, it was good to see, man. It got my juices flowing because I was, we all invest. You guys watching us or on YouTube or listen to the pod and watching our friends Q&A, watching our pregame show. We've all invested, us personally and you, the fans, into this football team, and you expect a certain level of performance, and when you don't get it, you go, what the hell is this? The Dallas game defense and offense. Mm-hmm. This game's offense was pretty good. Wasn't elite, wasn't great, but it was very good.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you have 461 total yards of offense, most times that's
you can't complain, right? I was nitpicking. I understand, but defensively, it's just unacceptable. I get Slay's pain,
right?
But it's to your point though. It's going to take time. It's good. Yeah. You're learning new techniques. They're down Brandon Graham. They're linebackers who aren't bad, but I don't know that they fit what Gannon needs. We need to learn more about, does he want guys with size like Anthony Barr? Like, what does he need at linebacker? And then the game plan on Tyreek Hill was clearly not existent, or whatever he tried didn't work. That was just not a good plan. And you're giving up back-to-back 40-point games. The bullseye's on Gannon. There's no question about it. You can't deny it.
Yeah, no. I kind of look forward to trying to figure out over the next 6 or 7 weeks if this personnel really is going to get it and get a little bit better, or if there's going to have to be a major – because just you talking about, how this is kind of an Indianapolis kind of looking defense right now, a lot of soft
more
zone.
Than many, yeah, more than Minnesota.
But you know what? You know who they have? They have Darius Leonard, and he's amazing. Can this team find an amazing linebacker and use a second-round pick on one? Yeah. That's why I said I look forward to kind of seeing if we even have to answer that question to begin with. So, all right, we'll get down to the tape breakdown next podcast. Q&A will be out Thursday, 6 a.m. Oh, please go to InsideTheBirds.com. We've last week we had at least 13 to 14 different pieces of new content you are going to do for the first time this year, your
rankings.
power rankings. I
boy.
look forward to reading those.
Eagles
And,
in the late 20s. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the Eagles will be cracking the top 5 at all, or top 10.
I haven't done them since 2010, and I actually handed them off to Brian Billick when he was at Fox Sports.
Oh, nice.
I just didn't want to do them. It was to the point where the fans around the country, they were so at me because I didn't have whatever team it was. I didn't have in the top 10 who I put it like it's 17.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, all right, enough of this stuff. Then I took it back, and then I gave it up. I was like, but I want to do them. I'm glad you would ask me to do it. I'm like, what, I'll do it. I can actually have fun, but I don't that was back when I get debates with people on Twitter. I don't talk. I just don't get involved with conversations anymore on Twitter. I just do my work and move on to the next one.
Smart man.
It's funny. The hate that people have. Oh, the Raider fans. So I've had this love-hate. Oh man. It was nasty, man. They were after me.
Well, I've told you about my experience in the Raiders parking lot, so I'm not surprised. So,
yeah.
And listen, Andrew DeCecco's got a really good story up. I have my
great
observations piece. Yeah, Andrew did great. We were both at the game together. It was cool to do that. Make sure you're checking out InsideTheBirds.com for all the latest in our coverage. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads, and his Twitter account @Broads81, his website, broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.